Hello, everybody, and welcome to Black Opera Live. I am your host, baritone and associate producer of the documentary Black Opera, Kenneth Overton. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you were listening to the countdown, then you would know that the voice that you were hearing was none other than baritone Reginald Smith Jr. So let me tell you a little bit about our special guest and we'll get right to it. Baritone Reginald Smith Jr. has been lauded as a passionate performer by the New York Times with an electric, hall-filling voice, said by the Baltimore Sun. Thrillingly dramatic, with a voice that is one of the most exciting baritone sounds to come along in many years, by Opera News. Now, Reggie is a native of Atlanta, Georgia, and is the grand finals winner of the 2015 Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions and a graduate of the Houston Grand Opera Studio. Reginald Smith Jr.'s 2019-2020 season opened with his much anticipated Metropolitan Opera debut in the role of Jim in the highly anticipated, critically acclaimed production of Porgy and Bess, followed by King Amonasro in Verdi's Aida with the Houston Grand Opera and the Cincinnati Opera, and Jake in Porgy and Bess with the Atlanta Opera. His orchestral appearances include Christmas Pops concerts with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra and Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with the Oregon Symphony. And future engagements include exciting stage debuts with the Lyric Opera of Chicago and the Santa Fe Opera. Ladies and gentlemen, the next voice that you will hear is none other than the wonderful upcoming star, baritone Reginald Smith Jr. What's up, man?
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm, blessed by the best, hanging in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Blessed by the, and grateful.
You better know it.
And grateful. So what's going on?
Nothing much. I'm enjoying the wonderfully warm weather here in Houston, which is where I live.
Gotcha.
Usually I'm not home during the summer, but it's all right. I'll take it.
You'll take it. You'll take it. So for all of the folks out there in Facebook world and YouTube land, I want you to take us all the way back to Atlanta, Georgia, where you grew up, and talk about your family and how and when music came into your life.
Well, I am blessed and fortunate that, one, I have a great family. But I have a very musical family.
Uh-huh.
So I am the youngest of 5 children, and music has been in my life ever since I was born. Everyone sings. All of my brothers and sisters, we all get together and sing all the time.
Yeah.
Of course, with my mother and aunts and uncles and cousins and so on.
Oh, wow.
So I just grew up singing. I grew up singing in church, but I always loved choir music.
Okay.
Actually, you weren't supposed to join the school choir until 3rd grade, but my brother, who's a year older than I am, was in the choir. And I said, well, I have to stay after school anyway. Well, he was in 3rd grade, so I asked the teacher if I could join the choir, and she let me in.
Yeah.
Because I was a good student. And I remember having my first solo singing, do Lord, oh do remember me, in front of the whole school. And I remember people saying, oh my God, aren't you nervous? No. I was like, I got a home in glory land. I was over it. And so I was actually, and still am, really a choir nerd at heart.
Okay.
So I was in choir from 2nd grade all the way through college.
Okay.
And I went through middle school, and when I got to high school, I was fortunate enough to attend DeKalb School of the Arts in Atlanta, which is a great school. And it was there that I really started to take in, classical music, voice lessons and different styles and all of those things. But, Yeah, no, my goal was always to be a high school choir teacher. So
Wow.
there you go.
Okay. So did your growing up in church, how did sort of your family take to you getting into classical music?
Well, I've always been blessed that my mother is very well rounded,
Yes.
and my mother played the clarinet from
Oh wow.
elementary all the way through college, and my aunt played the flute, and so classical music wasn't really anything different. My mother was in the choir at Morris Brown,
Yes.
and so being in choir and doing more classical voice wasn't so abstract. My siblings were in choir and so on. So it was
Gotcha.
just a matter of if this is what you really want to do, then we're going to work hard and make sure you do it. So I appreciate that
Fantastic.
I always had a supportive base and background.
That's amazing and so important. So many people don't have that. I know my parents looked at me like I had three heads when I said I wanted to sing opera. No, that is amazing that you had that support from a very,
Yeah.
very young age. That's awesome. So from high school, wanting to, be a choir director, where did you then go to college? And was studying music in college a no-brainer? That's what you were going to do.
Well, I always figured I would teach in general, right?
Yeah.
When I got to high school, I thought, duh, I could teach music. And so I thought, I'm going to be a music teacher. I
Yeah.
started studying voice in high school with Elizabeth Colson, who's now gone on. But when I started studying with Betty, she was already 80 years old, I think, at the time,
Oh wow.
and was still very strict. And
Yes.
so it was Betty that really said, you should do vocal performance as well as music education.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. And she said, well, at least you could get more scholarship or things. And so it was Betty that really forced me to do performance. And I was fortunate that I went to the University of Kentucky and I competed in the All-Tech competition and
Yes.
won first place. So I was able to attend the university with scholarships and tuition waiver, where I studied with Dr. Everett McCorvey. And
Everett.
I was very active in the choral department as well. And I have 2 degrees, one in vocal performance and the other in teaching kindergarten through 12th grade.
I
So,
did not know that.
huh?
Come on, certified. I love.
Good morning, class.
Good.
Um, and so, and for me, it was never a matter of a fallback. I
Yeah.
think we have enough fallback teachers. That's why our kids are kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But I would like if for whatever reason I had to stop singing now, I would be so very happy teaching and being in the classroom. So it was a tough choice
Yeah.
for me to kind of put one ahead of the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to tell myself, you know what, the window of opportunity to perform is very narrow. If I
Yes.
get certification, if I go ahead and finish the degree, I can always go and teach.
Always.
I'm a Black man. They're always going to be looking for Black male teachers. But the opportunity to perform, when the door is open, it's only open for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I thought if I'm really going to do it, I'm going to, really hit this thing hard. And I was glad that my teacher, Dr. McCorvey, was behind me
Yes.
in all of my endeavors. So I always appreciate Dr. McCorvey.
Yes, indeed. We love Dr. McCorvey. So talk to me about the voice, because we can all hear by your speaking voice that it's deep and resonant and gorgeous and all of that. Did you always have that voice, or did you have a sort of dramatic shift at some point? Because I know I did. I went from boy soprano to baritone in a week and a half. It was crazy.
I thought you were going to say if I had a dramatic boy choir voice, Ooh, but
You do listen. They did not let me in the Philadelphia Boys Choir because I have vibrato.
my oldest brother was a part of the Atlanta Boy Choir, and when I auditioned, they told my mother my voice was too heavy. So I mean, I must have auditioned with Deesh Toy Holla at like 8 years old or something. But I never was a boy soprano, if you will. I was
Okay.
always part two. My voice was never that high. But for me, it was sixth grade. Right?
Okay.
It was at the beginning of sixth grade. It took about a week and a half. And I was like, hey, mom, hey, mom, hey, how's it going? And that was it. And so you can imagine the first day of school when they're like, here.
Right.
But I was fortunate that I had smart teachers or
Yeah.
teachers both in middle school that I sang in the treble choir as well as still singing in the mixed choir.
Gotcha.
And so she made sure that I still worked the head voice
Yes.
while still being comfortable in my new voice.
Yeah.
And, after a while, they just kind of meet in the middle. But yeah, I mean, as much as I would like to pretend like I was going to sing some big tenor arias, no, my voice has always been down in the basement.
I gotcha. So when you're at UK studying with Doc, did you do any big roles in the opera program? Was it recital based? Were you doing a lot of choral stuff or all of it?
All of the above. One of the things I've always loved about the University of Kentucky and the way the program is set up is that, if you got the goods, they're going to use you,
Yes.
So my first year, I remember I was in a mall in the Night Visitors at Cliff Jackson's church, which was great.
Now,
And
which king were you?
I was Balthazar.
Gotcha.
Which was hilarious because I didn't have any of the low notes, but they liked the color of the lower part of my voice. But no, I was busy doing opera choruses during It's a Grand Night for Singing, the musical theater review, being in the men's choir, the chorale, the choristers, having roles in the operas, doing recitals, doing gigs with the symphony there at school and other places. So I was fairly busy.
Yeah.
And I also, because of the double degree and because I wanted to take time, I did 6 years in undergrad.
Okay.
So I was more than ready to move on by the time I was done at Kentucky.
Listen, when I went to UK, I can't remember why. I was maybe with American Spiritual Ensemble, and I went into the Schmidt Vocal Arts Center, and there's this gigantic poster of Reggie on the wall, and so now we know why. Now we know why.
Oh, goodness, because I was busy and like a crazy person, but
busy.
I love it. I prefer to be busy.
Yes, and so it's really sort of nice but interesting that Kentucky still is extremely supportive of you, both as a city and as a university.
Absolutely.
Talk about what that means and how that came to be.
Well, I think from the moment I got to Lexington, I was sort of adopted into the Kentucky family, the Kentucky proud. I always say, Kentucky's my home away from home, right?
Gotcha.
If I could have a nice little retirement home somewhere, it's just beautiful. The horses and the bluegrass and all. But it's such a supportive community.
Yeah.
From the donors, from the opera lex, from the voice faculty members that actually get along with each other as real people.
What
That's
a
an important
concept.
thing. It doesn't happen everywhere. So everybody, I just felt like everyone was there to support me.
Yeah.
In my endeavors. And look, I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but that was the case for me.
Right.
And so I was blessed and fortunate that it happened to be the right place at the right time.
Yes.
And what's funny about it is that I always told myself I was going to get out of the South. I applied to no schools in the state of Georgia at all because I wanted to get away from home. And I applied to Boston University, where Simon Estes was still teaching there at the time.
Gotcha.
And that was my goal. I was going to go to Boston University. I was going to study with Simon Estes. I was going to get out the South. But, God had other plans, and I'm glad he did.
Yes, indeed.
And also Betty said, maybe you should look at Kentucky. And I said, Betty, what are you talking about? But Betty also knew a lot more than I did. So I'm
Listen,
fortunate to have great guidance in my life.
we need to listen to our elders even more so, especially nowadays.
Amen. But, I will say from Kentucky, I applied to different young artist programs and a few artist diploma programs.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into the program at Houston Grand Opera and being a part of the Houston Grand Opera studio.
So you went directly from UK into Houston?
I did.
Wow.
I did. Which was also a wonderfully swift learning curve. I had enough of the voice technique and knowledge of, just how to sing.
Yes.
Because Betty was a master teacher, and I went from studying with Betty for 2.5 years right into working with Dr. McCorvey. And so when I started as a freshman, I already started a little bit above, some of the, and that's just because, Betty was old school. We did those Ning hums and Vakai and every Monday night. So by the time I got to Kentucky, I was already singing full-on Handel arias and, all this stuff. So likewise, with the amount of roles and the amount of stage time and summer programs and things that I did while I was at Kentucky, by the time I graduated, I felt as if I was ready for the next step. And so, I went from Kentucky straight into the Houston Grand Opera studio.
Wow. And how long did you stay at HGO in the studio?
I was in the studio for 2 years. I was in the studio for 2 years, so 2 full seasons.
And so describe to the folks out there what being in the HGO studio entails. What is, what does a regular week look like for a studio artist?
Well, the HGO studio is one of the top studios for opera training, really in the world, especially in America.
Yeah.
And it's a grueling, tough, exhausting time. They want to get as much information as they can. Imparted into you in 2 years. And so, we work six days a week. And just based on the way the schedule is not often that you usually have the same day off. So, you might have Tuesday off this week and Friday next week and then Monday of the next week. And
I see.
Immediately they like to put you in shows, either on stage with the main stage singers or you're covering with people or so on. So the first thing I did was Die Fledermaus at Houston Grand Opera, hilariously singing Dr. Blind or Blint. Yes, the character tenor role. That was me. Why not? But I was in the show with, Lord Claycomb and Susan Graham, and, to go from undergrad and then like 2 months later, you're in rehearsals with Susan Graham. It's like, boom, there you go.
So was it a conscious decision to go straight to Houston and not do a formal master's program, or?
Yeah, I was tired of school.
Yeah.
And I did 6 years, which is the amount of time that most people do undergrad and master's. I already had the 2 degrees. And I looked at artist diploma programs. Because I thought at this point in my career, my life, I don't think I'm ready for like a big career, but I feel like I need to tweak some things. And that doesn't necessarily include taking theory. And so that's why I applied and looked at a few places that were artist diploma, and I looked at young artist programs. But it was tough. I mean, you have at least 1 or 2 coachings every day. You have the voice lessons. You have one-on-one language, the German, French, Italian, some Russian if you want.
Wow.
They bring in master teachers and coaches to work with you. I started taking lessons with Stephen King during that time, I still study with Stephen King. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But you would have say I would have Italian at 9 in the morning from 9 to 10. I would have a coaching from 10 to 11 on Madam Butterfly. Then maybe a break from 11 to 12 or 12 to 1, maybe a nice little 2-hour break. Rehearsal from 1 to 3 on Magic Flute. A coaching maybe from 3 to 4 on general repertoire. A break from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, and then rehearsal from 6 to 10. I mean, it was
Wow.
And
Wow.
you know, I was in Magic Flute and Butterfly like around the same time, while also preparing a full recital, while also still having to do general audition rep. And they're like, why didn't you learn this brand new aria overnight? And you're like, I don't know. So I'm gonna close this blind 1 second.
Uh-huh. So it sounds like it's a rather grueling but sort of beneficial.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was fantastic, and it was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
They kicked my butt.
And if you can survive that kind of a schedule, then you can survive just about anything.
It's true. Well, and also the groundwork. I thought I was pretty good at certain things like learning music, right? But then when you go into some of these coachings with these very high level coaches that will say, well, why do you think this is a 16th instead of an eighth note?
Hmm.
Well, if you sing it as an eighth note, what is the emotion that you're conveying? What is Mozart trying to say by writing this legato? You really have to think, oh my Lord, what is
Right.
and so it helped me to challenge my own knowledge and my
Yeah.
own musical skills.
Yes.
And so I appreciate it. It was exhausting, and there were some times where I was like, Lord, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I did.
Yes, you did. And we are grateful that you did. So then, did you go and do the Met competition post Houston or while you were in Houston?
So here's a fun thing I always like to tell people. I
Mhm.
actually did the Met auditions, I think 5 or 6 times
Really?
before actually winning. The first time I did the Met, I was 20 or 21. I was at Kentucky.
Okay.
And I knew, I didn't go in with the sense that I was going to win. I went in mostly to get feedback from the judges, just to see where I was.
Yeah.
But I also told myself, I don't want to be at the competition. I at least want to be in the competition. I might not win, but I want to at least be considered.
Right.
And so I think I got an encouragement award. And then the next year I moved on to the region and I won 3rd place, and I thought I was doing something. And then the next year I didn't get anything at all. And then I took like a year off, and then I got to the region again and I won 2nd place.
Wow.
So by the time my first year in the HGO studio, I wanted to do the Met auditions, but it just conflicted with my pre-existing contract. So they said, well, you can't do it. And I said, well, okay.
Wow.
So then I did the Met auditions my 2nd year as I was leaving the studio.
Yeah.
And it just worked out to where the only place that was really available was actually through Atlanta.
Okay.
So I did the region, the district, and the region through Atlanta before going on to the semifinals.
Yes.
And all. But it was definitely, I sort of told myself, if I could get past the region level
Mm-hmm.
and just get to the stage,
Yes.
I would be fine. Even if I didn't win, if I could just get on the stage, I would be okay. And so, I mean, those are like vivid memories that you always have, right? When they call your name and you're like, oh my God, go to New York. And
do you remember
I was at the end of my time at the HGO studio.
Gotcha. So do you remember what you sang the year you won?
I did. So I started out with "Oh Lord Jesus, Hear My Prayer" from the Emperor Jones by Louis Grunberg. And I offered "I già vinto la causa," the complete Don Carlo, scene in French.
Uh-huh.
I offered "O du mein holder Abendstern" and Ford's aria.
Wow. Okay.
And I always started with the Emperor Jones because I felt as if I had one. I really loved the aria. I felt as if I had something to say through the aria,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to get on stage and people see and hear Reginald Smith Jr.,
Yes.
not their favorite "I già vinto la causa."
Right.
And so, and then if anybody had a problem with me starting with my English aria, I had Mozart, I had two Verdi, two different types of Verdi. I got your
Right.
German legato, and I told him I'd sing all of them if you want me to. So that's what I did at the region semifinal.
Yeah.
I did the Emperor Jones and "O du mein holder Abendstern."
Okay.
And when it came to the finals, I was fortunate. I worked with Fabio Luisi, and they said, "Well, what would you like to sing?" And I said, I would love to sing "Oh Lord Jesus, Hear My Prayer." And they said, "We don't really know that piece." And I said, "Well, Maestro, I actually brought the music for you. I brought the music for Miss Nichols, and I brought a music for your assistant. I already have a pianist folder. Would you like to hear the aria?" And he said, "Okay." And so I did it, and he said, "Okay, I think you can sing that one." And then we settled on Ford's aria.
Okay.
And so those were the two pieces that I did for the Met finals when I ended up winning the competition.
Fantastic. And so, what is that like when you hear your name called on that day?
Surreal. I'm
Mhm.
like, who, me? Y'all talking about Reggie from Atlanta? I mean, it all sort of you really sit there, you really think, you look out the house and you say, wow, think about all the people that have been here
Yeah.
in this exact spot
Yeah.
with this amazing orchestra, and think about all the people that have won the competition, even back into the radio competition days with people like Robert McFerrin,
Yes.
and to think that somehow you are a part of this legacy in some
Absolutely.
way. Reggie from Atlanta is somehow a part of the same legacy as people, like Robert McFerrin. And so it's
Yeah.
amazing. And
Amazing.
it's incredibly humbling as well. So it's still amazing to me. I mean, I don't know. I just assume people like screaming from time to time. So
Exactly. Exactly. And George Shirley and Shirley Verrett did the Met competition and were in the same finals.
that's amazing.
Amazing, right?
What was it? Was it Grace Bumbry and Martina Arroyo? Were they in the
Yeah.
same year, right? Or
Amazing.
absolutely.
So we're going to take a little bit of a commercial break right here and give the viewing audience some more Reggie in Verdi's Aida. We'll be right back. boy. You better do that.
Thank you.
Well, I think all of us baritones live to sing not only that part, but that moment.
That's it.
That is it.
That's the one.
I know.
What an amazing Aida in that version with Tamara Wilson. I mean,
Brava Tammy. Now that was in Houston?
That was this past January and February.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So right before all hell broke loose.
Absolutely.
Wow. That was amazing. So was that your first time singing that role?
No. So the first time I did the role was actually in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Of all places. I had learned the role and I had covered the role before.
Yeah.
But I did it in Hong Kong with Kristen Lewis and Hui Hei and Marjorie Owens. And then I did the role again in Boise with another Met Opera winner, Michelle Johnson.
Yay.
And a Houston native, a Houstonian. And I did it in Houston, and then where else did I do? I don't know. I had a couple more coming. Aida's good.
It's good.
It's good to me. It's good for me.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I always feel like when Leontine Price says, "My skin is my costume," in that, I'm so grateful for that.
And this one was cool because they wanted makeup of the Ethiopian flag, so I had the green, the yellow, and the red on my face. So that was kind of cool.
Amazing. Amazing.
Mix it up.
So we had a couple questions from our Instagram folks, and one of them was, what are some of your dream roles? And I would add to that, give me some that you dream about that you've never done, and some of the favorites that you have done and really want to do again.
Ones that I have not done and probably won't do for a little bit. I'd love to sing Scarpia. That's like, so I was telling you earlier about my intro into opera.
Yes.
Was through seeing Tosca at the Atlanta Opera.
Okay.
With Cynthia Lawrence, who's now in faculty at the University of Kentucky, and Donnie Ray Albert. And it was my first time seeing a Black male opera singer on stage, up close in person. I was mesmerized.
Yeah.
And I looked up everything Donnie Ray Albert after that. And Scarpia has always been a favorite role. So that in time, I'm not a big Wagnerian, but I would love to do the very end of Die Walküre, the Wotan, the Leb Vol.
Yes.
I mean, that music, come on. I've covered the role, but I've not actually done Michele in Tabarro.
That's a beautiful one.
It's a great one.
Oh my gosh.
You did that in Utah, right? Was that Utah? Of course, you have the Verdis, the Rigolettos, Ballo, Nabucco, all those fine.
Yeah.
I would say a role that I have performed that I would love to do again is Falstaff. Falstaff is great. And
now, is it because you like the comedy, or because is it the score? What is it about Falstaff?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I like that he's such a well-rounded character.
Yeah.
I like the comedy of it. I don't often get to play comedic roles, even though sometimes I'm funny to myself. And, I laugh at myself, so that's good enough. The score is amazing, right?
Yes, it is.
He has great singing moments. It's great orchestra. It's Verdi's, final masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's exhausting because you're on stage almost the entire evening.
Yeah.
But it's so worthwhile. And then, there are other things I would like to do, like Sweeney Todd. I would love to sing Sweeney Todd.
It's such a great show.
Why not?
Why not?
Emperor Jones by Louis Grunberg. I would love for someone to mount a production of The Emperor Jones. I've been singing the aria, throwing it at people for years. So,
All right,
You know,
universe. You hear that, universe?
that's
You
right.
got to
Y'all
mount
hear
that
that?
for Reggie.
And it's short. You can do it as a double bill. Just throwing it out.
Okay. A double bill with Tabarro.
See?
There you go.
There you
And so I wanted to take a minute to publicly thank you for donating to the Black Opera documentary.
go.
And that, I mean, that's a big reason why we're here tonight, and why we started to have this talk show here. Um, I, I'm just so appreciative of the gesture, and I wanted to ask you, what was it that moved you to make you want to donate?
Well, I think it's important for all of us in general, but especially Black folk, African American people, to really value and to remember their history and their culture.
Yes.
And I think so often it goes undocumented.
Yeah.
It goes by the wayside. We can't find publications of music. People forget important stories of important people. And so for me, I thought this is a great way to make sure that we remember those that have come before us and that have paved the way. And we should give them some proper representation and highlighting, and not just wait for somebody else to come up with something.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad I was able to help out in any kind of way, you know.
Well, me and my team are so grateful. I just wanted to say a public thank you to you for your generosity. And I'm looking into the chat here, and you've got some fans out here. Oh, our buddy Dean Anthony is here. He said, "I love these gentlemen. We love you too, Dean."
Tell Dean to do Falstaff again with Reggie.
You hear that, Dean? Dean and I were talking earlier today, and I'm sure your ears were burning because you were a big topic of conversation. Brandy Sutton says hello.
Hey, Brandy.
And Jasmine Habersham says yes, yes, yes to Falstaff. And so you got your Nanetta right there. Yes. You got two people cast already. And then, Robert Sims says Donnie Ray is a singing god. Yes, Donnie Ray is the singing god. We love Marjorie. Marjorie, I love you. Je t'aime. Tell your crazy husband hello. We love him. And so, okay, let me go back to my Instagram questions. What are some of the lessons that you've learned by being and living on the road?
You know, this is an important one that I often try to tell people. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely.
Yes.
In this
business, wait, hold on. Say that again and say it slow, because people in the back, they might have missed it. Say that again. Come on.
There is a difference between being alone and being lonely. And you have to differentiate between the two. And you also have to know how to handle the two of them in this career. I find that, you have a lot of alone time.
Yes.
In this career. You have great rehearsals and great friends and all, and then you go back to your room, you go back to your apartment, and you're alone. You have a morning alone. You have an evening alone. And how do you handle that time? Some people, they like to sightsee. Some people like to read a book, or, sometimes you're working on other music while you're at another gig. But you have to figure that out. Also, I find that usually when I start to feel lonely is actually when I'm around people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll feel lonely when I'm in a restaurant.
Okay.
Filled with people, but as I sit there, I'm like, where's my special? Where's my bae? Where's my boo? Or sometimes you're in a room full of people and everybody gets along, and maybe you're kind of not as, you and your colleagues don't get along as much as you would like. And you kind of feel like, man, I miss my crew. I need to call my mama. I need to,
Right.
And what do you do? How do you knock yourself out of that? Everybody has their own different vices. Again,
Yeah.
I like watching TV. I love old churches. It's just, I don't know, it's weird, but if we're walking down the street, even on vacation, I'll go in and look at the stained glass window or look at the pews. There's always such good history, and so everybody has their own thing. I love to cook, which I'm sure is another thing that will come up. But with that, I like going places and trying new things.
Yes.
Especially if they're good. Because then what I do is I say, they put a little time in this. And then I'm gonna make that when I get home.
So you have a sophisticated and discerning palate.
I don't. Only for Popeyes.
Reggie, not the Popeyes. Now, are you a fan of the sandwich? Is the sandwich, was it worth all of the hype that it had? Come on now with the Popeyes.
Lord. What's funny is that I had the sandwich before it was popular. And so I was like,
yeah.
I mean, I was not going to stand in line 3 hours and all that.
No.
But
folks fighting folks to no, we're not doing that for no.
I mean, there's some music I need to be learning.
Hello. And so, sticking with the culinary arts, your Facebook page and Instagram is often filled with delectable things that leap off of one screen. I mean, not just the food. I mean, the presentation of it. But then when you find out what it is, just the taste buds start activating. Now, did learning how to cook or knowing how to cook, is that natural? Did you study it? Did your mama teach you? Your grandmama and them? Well, where did that come from?
I say all of the above. Now, look, I'm from Atlanta, and Georgia is hot. Okay,
yeah.
So going outside in the summertime was not always a favorite pastime of mine.
Right.
And so, my grandmother and my mother would say, well, you can come in and help me cook. And I said, okay. Yeah. And I remember cooking with my grandmother, and I said, well, you take a handful of flour. Now, meanwhile, my grandmother was like 5'1", okay? So her handful was probably half the size of my hand. Getting, while I was here in the studio, there were some guys, friends of mine that were at Rice. And one of them wanted pork chops for their birthday. Fine. I said, I'll fry some pork chops, whatever. And they said, well, you're putting seasoning in like the flour. How do you know if it's the right amount? I said, you can tell. You just kind of run your fingers through, and if it feels right, if it looks right. And then I laughed because it's totally something my grandmother would say.
Right.
And so some of those things come a bit more naturally that I sort of grew up with. And then as I've gotten older, there are other things where I say, I wonder what that is. So let me try this. So, and so some of it's trial and error. Some of it is just creativity. Some of it's just boredom.
Yeah.
Or neglect. Yeah, often I'll say, I really need to learn the words to that song. Let me go and make a steak. I just...
I love it.
So that's kind of how it really sort of started. And then I thought, I'm making all of these things. I should probably post a picture every now and then. So sometimes I post pictures of what I'm cooking.
Yeah, and when you do, it leaps off of the screen. And sometimes I'm so upset with you because I can't get to it. And I
always tell people, especially if I'm home or, if we're singing together, just let me know. I will always cook for you.
Okay, so hold up here. I need to address somebody in these here comments.
Uh-oh.
Kevin Miller is talking about, yes, and his meals, they are good. Kevin, we know that you have eaten not just Reggie's food, but everybody's food. Reggie, don't let him come to your house and eat you out of a house at home, because Kevin will do that.
Well, see, Kevin also knows, because he lived close by, but Kevin knows that whenever I cook, part of it is my Southern upbringing and having 4 siblings. is that if I know that there are 2 people coming over to my house, I'm like, okay, I need to make a whole turkey, a ham, 2 pies, about 16 biscuits. Let me make a cake. I mean, it's foolish. Oh, Tuesday, yes, I miss those meals. And the thing is, I know that there are only 2 people coming to my house, but yes, ask Kevin when I make the stuffed turkey breast with cornbread stuffing and some spicy sausage and the veggies, and it's all wrapped in a roulade.
Mercy.
Why did I make 2 of them? There were only like 3 of us here. So Kevin knows that at least if he comes over, there's a to-go plate.
Yeah. And listen, and that's the only reason he's coming over there, because he knows that you're going to give him a to-go plate or 2 or 3. And that's how it is with Kevin, and that's how it always has been with Kevin. Either when I call him or he calls me, he has either just eaten, about to eat, in the process of eating, or thinking about what he's going to eat later on. That's just it.
Hard. It is hard to cook small meals.
Yeah.
We love them, right? I will say one of the things that we would do when I was in undergrad is sometimes we would get together and would cook meals together, or we would just have spaghetti and watch an opera or watch, remember when the Ring cycle came out on PBS?
Yes.
I remember we all sat around at Kentucky. Nick Davis might remember that. We said that it's playing 4 days in a row. We're going to watch this Ring. And we got together and we were cooking. And Rheingold was okay. Die Valkyrie, it was a little long. Siegfried, we made it about halfway through. We got a good to Dameron. It was like the first 30 minutes. And we were like, you know what?
You know what?
I'm not throwing shade at Kevin. I love it. Somebody needs to come over here and eat this food and take it away from me so I can fit in my costume measurements.
See, and Nicole, it's not shade if it's the truth. And I
love
it. That's the God's truth.
This pandemic has not helped because I'm like, I have nothing but time. So that's why I made an entire ratatouille, which is foolish. It's delicious, I might add. Yeah. But it took so much time. Sweet potato casserole.
My goodness. So next time I have a big old function, I'm gonna have you have to come and cater it.
So funny thing, here's a fun story. I at the Met for Porgy and Bess, I had way too many bananas and stuff. So I decided I was gonna make a banana pudding. And I didn't want to sit there and eat it all by myself. Mm-hmm. So I brought it to the Opera House. And I just said, look, there's banana pudding back there. And apparently Denise Graves didn't get any. And so she came up to me in the rehearsal and said, well, I heard that you made banana pudding, but I didn't get any. And so I said, okay, well, I'll make one just for you. And she thought I was joking. Oh. And so the next day, I came back to the Opera House and I had this whole banana pudding. I was like, I'm sorry I missed you yesterday. She was like, it was so good. I was telling my husband about it, because I ate it before I got home. But I was telling him. So because Miss Graves knows that I love to cook, before Act 2, before the second half of Porgy and Bess, Jim and Nelson would sit by Mariah's shop.
Yes.
And so she would always ask me what I was cooking or how I made this or so on. So it was a great connection in Porgy where, you get to talk with Denise Graves about cooking.
Right. So sticking with the Met, you're a competition winner in 2015, and then you make your long anticipated stage debut in the fall of 2019. What was that like? What did that feel like to go back to a place where you had success as a younger version of you?
For me, I remember going up to the Opera House that first day and thinking, you know what? This is right. I belong here, you know? It was a wonderful feeling of, you know, I have worked hard. I've sort of, you know, I'm still working, still doing the things I'm supposed to, but I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel overly arrogant or anything. I just felt like, you know what? I've worked hard for this. I'm going to enjoy every moment of this. I was fortunate that I was in a dressing room with Arthur Woodley. I mean, right? And so I would just sit there and just ask him about his life and his career. And I mean, he still sings better than anybody.
Anybody.
I mean,
Anybody.
It's outrageous.
When I came to see the show, I was like, I knew his part because I had done that part before.
Yep.
But I was looking from side to side, like, when he coming back to sing again?
Right.
Because that man is a whole masterclass. He is a walking how-to manual.
Yep. And just as humble
and so kind.
It was a wonderful experience for me. Of course, the production and being at the Met and all of that, but really being around the people that were there, and then the production, and you know, the people were very welcoming at the Met. You know, like the security guards remember who you are, and so it was very special. I'm glad we were able to have that moment. It's crazy to think that was just a year ago. Yeah, because it seems like ages with this pandemic. But
exactly.
We'll all get back at some point.
So you finished the Aida run in Houston, and then am I correct in that you go to Atlanta for Porgy and Bess?
Absolutely.
And then skirt.
Yep.
What? Tell us what happened in Atlanta.
So, I mean, we did the last performance of Aida that Sunday, and I was in Atlanta that Monday for rehearsal. Okay. So it was literally the next day. But we had the first weekend of performances and that first Tuesday performance, and then we were supposed to do Friday and Sunday. And I'm glad I told all of my folks to come on that Tuesday night. And so most of them, thank you, Callie, most of them came that weekend or that Tuesday. And so my great aunt and all of them were able to see my mother. But that Friday, we actually had a company sort of get together that Thursday. And we were saying, hopefully we can do the performances. Let's just do this one last weekend. We'll be fine. And Friday, I had just come from the store, getting a few things for the theater. And I got in my car and I was about to head to the theater when I got a phone call that said, hey, the performance for the night has been canceled and the one for Sunday is also canceled.
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, I was in the car about to go to the theater.
Wow.
And so it was crazy because everything was going so well. We had great performances, and then literally, boom! It was just like slam on brakes, unexpected. Everything's canceled. And so and then it just kind of snowballed, right? You know, that canceled, and then the next thing got canceled. Next thing canceled. The next thing, you know. But fortunately, the Atlanta Opera agreed to go ahead and pay us for those performances, which was incredibly generous.
Thank you, Atlanta. Thank you, Atlanta.
Absolutely. They're fantastic people. But yeah, I mean, it was so odd because I was in the car, I was on the way to the theater, and then nothing. Wow. And I haven't been on stage since. I've done a few sort of online things or, you know, a concert out at someone's house, but it's, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one of the great things that we were all able to see online before the pandemic, and that was Larry Brownlee and Friends concert live from Houston Grand Opera. That, I think, was a monumental performance in a lot of ways because it was virtual for us, even though you all were doing it in front of a live audience, and it reached so many people. And the singers were beautiful and brown and fantastic, and such a wide range of repertoire. You had, Nicole Heaston, and you had Janae Bridges, and you had Russell Thomas, and Larry Brownlee, and Kevin Miller at the keys, and Nicholas Newton, who's the current HGO member. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Yeah. It was exciting. I mean, and I was glad that my sister and my niece and nephew were also there.
Oh, wonderful.
So to add to, more of the wonderful, beautiful black, brown faces in the audience.
Yes.
The thing that was amazing is that we all were there at the same time.
Yes.
Which also is a testament to Houston Grand Opera and their diversity in their casting.
Absolutely.
And, we were already cast that way before everybody started making a point about casting in a diverse manner. And so it was extraordinary to sing with Russell Thomas, right?
Yes.
And with Larry Brownlee, and to sing with everybody together doing an arrangement of This Little Light of Mine by Damian Sneed. I mean, it was a phenomenal concert, and I'm glad I was asked to be a part of it, honestly.
Yeah. Now, did you feel that the Houston community got as much out of it as the virtual community? Because I'm sure, I can tell you for a fact that the virtual community was screaming at their screens. It was so fantastic. How do you think the Houston folks gravitated to it?
Well, I thought it was fantastic that there were so many beautiful, dark, brown, whatever, people of color, you want to call it, faces in the audience. And as I told you, there were people that came with like a church bus. Wow. And, they had the students from Austin Tillerson, which is a historical black college just outside of San Antonio. They came down all the way to Houston just for the concert.
Wow.
And then afterwards, they drove the, 2.5, 3 hours back. So people were definitely very excited and all about it, and they really were appreciative here in Houston. And as I told you, my first baritone that I saw on stage was Donnie Ray Albert, and he happened to show up at the Giving Voice concert.
Oh, wow.
And I told him that if I had known he was going to be in the audience, I would not have done Rigoletto or Otello, but it was amazing to see him and to have such great support.
And what a beautiful full circle moment for your first operatic experience as an audience member, to see a black man in a leading role and then go to a school where the leading lady is on faculty and then you are on stage and that same man that you admired so much is there watching you. I think that is so incredible and beautiful and powerful. I tell people all the time that for our young people, if they can see it, they can do it.
Absolutely.
It's possible. It's
Absolutely.
possible. For me, it was seeing Jesse Norman on stage as a 15-year-old, just like it was for you seeing Donnie Ray. Yeah. It's if you can see it, you can believe it, and you can do it.
Yeah, I would say another person that has always been, supporting me and always pushing me was Morris Robinson. Morris is from Atlanta.
Big bro Mo, baby.
When I was 17, Morris came to my high school to talk. I guess he had just finished the program. He had the Going Home CD that was out, and so one of the people that he went to high school with was teaching at my high school.
Okay.
And so she invited him to come. And at the end of it, they said, would anybody want to sing for Morris Robinson? And of course, me being the person that I am, I was like, I'll do it. And so I jumped up and I sang for Morris, and he was like, oh, we should stay in touch. And I stayed in touch with him ever since. Through undergrad, through, when I felt like I was going to go crazy and quit singing,
Right,
because
right.
I was stressed in the studio. I called Morris. He was actually at my audition for the HGO studio because he was singing Showboat here. So he
Uh-huh.
was standing backstage. That's why I met Nicole too. The first time I met Nicole was that Showboat rehearsal. But he was backstage at my audition for HGO. And so to get to the point to where I was sharing the stage with Morris, first time was in Houston when we did Magic Flute, which was
Okay.
great. That was a Magic Flute that had Nicole, Michael Samuel, and Morris. And then on the alternate performances, I did the speaker. But doing Porgy with Morris in Atlanta, is another, fantastic moment that I will definitely cherish,
Yes,
Singing
indeed.
with Big Bro, if you will.
Yes, he is. This big bro Mo, man. Love you, Morris. Thank you, Nicole Heaston and Tiffany Jackson. I love y'all both. So yes, so now you're living in Houston, and living in Houston, was that always the plan? Did you just gravitate back to it because you enjoyed the studio so much? Like, what took you back to Houston?
Well, what's funny is when I first got in the studio, I
Hmm.
thought, Texas, I don't know about this. And I thought, well, after my 2 years, I'll leave, right? After my first year in the studio, I thought, well, I don't dislike it here. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
And after my second year, I thought about moving back to Atlanta, but then I thought my voice teacher is here, the coaches that I work with are here. I have a
Hmm.
connection to the company. There are two airports, has a much cheaper cost of living. And
Yeah.
so I thought, well, at least for a little while, I'll stay put. Let me just see how that works out. And that was 7 years ago.
Wow.
So, and I have no plans of leaving anytime soon. It's a great place to be, especially in between gigs.
Yeah.
When I get here, I feel like I can just kind of relax.
Gotcha.
If I need downtown hustle and bustle, I can have that.
Yeah.
But I can also just sit and chill. So
And now home life with you and your partner, does your partner travel with you at all? What is that like?
no, well, he teaches high school choir, which is of
Uh-huh.
course a little interesting online right now. But it's you have to make that work, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you're gone for 2 months, and the advantage is that he has weekends, even though I don't. And so sometimes we're able to make that work. Of course, Maestro Leo is not so fond of all of the traveling. Not just kidding.
Now,
He doesn't.
Maestro Leo is the cat of all cats. And his name is the best zodiac, which is my zodiac. So Maestro Leo and I see eye to eye on a lot.
So people that know me or that have been on my Facebook for a long time, or even Instagram, know that I'm not a big fan of cats. And in my old apartment, there was a cat that used to always sleep on my front porch.
Yeah.
It was my neighbor's cat, would literally come out the front door, walk over to my step, and just lay on the rug. I'd have to step over the cat to get in and out of the house. Oh yeah. Oh, that cat was a mess. And so when when Leo was coming to live with
Right.
well, I mean, he's 10 years old. It was an adjustment.
Right. Right.
But
Right. Right.
the thing that's so funny is I have a couple of videos up too. If you're practicing or if you're singing something that's not so great, he'll come around and be like, meow. He'll climb on top of the piano and he'll look at you like, "What are you doing?" Oh yeah, no, he's real picky.
We love Maestro Leo.
He's a handful.
Well,
He's too much. Tell him to go bring in a mouse or something. Do some work.
amazing. I love it. Well, Reggie, sir, we're about to wrap up, and I just want to thank you for coming on and chit chatting with me and the Black Opera Live audience. And I want to let you know that I am one of your biggest fans, and I want the whole world to know that you are wonderful as an artist, as a human being, and make sure that you follow him on his social media platforms. You check his website. And when Corona releases us, if he's singing somewhere, try to make it your business to be there. And if he's there, he might have cooked a little something, so you might get a little treat.
Most likely.
So, do you have any parting words for the folks before we get out of here?
You know, as crazy as the times are, I just want to say that I am blessed and fortunate to still be able to study music, to listen to music, to have great people to talk to live life. And I know it's hard for everybody, but I think if we can all just count our blessings day by day,
Yeah,
wear our masks, and, you know, enjoy life a little bit. Try a new recipe, right? Read a new book, binge watch a new TV show.
right.
I'm waiting to watch Greenleaf tomorrow. No one talking
Baby,
about it, okay?
Greenleaf. Oh my God, please don't let.
I've been able to catch up with Greenleaf in time, something that I've not been able to do.
Don't take Bishop away from me, God. Please don't take Bishop. No.
So, you know, love life, enjoy life, love those around you, and, you know, we'll all get through this together. I'm grateful and thankful that you've had me here, and hopefully I said something that made sense to somebody. So
It sure did. It sure did, brother. I thank you so much. And
Thank you.
everybody, as we go out, Reggie's going to sing us out. But remember to join me here every Monday at 7 p.m. And next Monday, you don't want to miss it. I'm doing my first panel, meaning more than one guest for the first time. And it's entitled The Red Dress. And the red dress comes in the form of 3 incredible women from a different generation who were the preeminent interpreters of the role of Bess in Porgy and Bess. I have with me the great Priscilla Baskerville, the great Roberta Laws, and the great Marquita Lister. So you do not want to miss the red dress. We're going to talk about careers before, during the Catfish Row, and what they're all up to now. So don't forget to join me here next Monday at 7 p.m. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you to everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube world. I will see you soon. Take care of yourself and each other. Bye.